to go ahead and get started. Call this meeting to order, seeing as we do have a quorum. First item on the agenda, Secretary's report.
Mr. Chairman, in your packets you have the committee meeting minutes of the last school committee meeting, regular committee meeting of August 15th. I recommend acceptance of the meeting minutes as they're written.
Did I hear the second over there? Is that what I was?
Looking at the minutes just a few minutes ago, I noticed that we failed to recognize our amended representative as either being present or absent. So I'll take the responsibility for not noticing that before. Valuing his input, I'd like to make sure he's listed somewhere, either present or not present, for the August 15th meeting.
Yes, I was going to say, because I recall he was not present, so we should at least have him listed.
Yeah, he was missing that.
That's the only thing. Motion second.
And actually, now that you say it, you know who else, what I also don't say? Upton.
Okay. Before we missed one.
Dave was absent, right?
Right, Dave was absent.
Dave was absent.
So,
Amy, it should tally 13 every time. Check that again.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
all right, well, subject to those changes, Anthony?
Yeah. So make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes with the addition of the two members we spoke on.
Subject to those changes. So, yeah, so the motion just continues forward because the motion and the second were subject to those changes even after the fact. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are approved subject to those modifications. Next item on the agenda, Treasurer's report.
Yes, the August 31st Treasurer's report will be presented at the next meeting. So we ran into just a little glitch with some of the charges received from the online credit card company. So we're working through those and we should have that resolved next week.
So that will be for the next meeting.
Yep.
So I think we'll just kind of pass over that. And you have anything else for us tonight, Barbara?
I don't.
All right. Next item on the agenda.
Do we have any representatives coming from the governor's office? Seeing none, I did receive a communication, so we continue to be in pursuit of the replacement or the restoring of the signage on 495. I mentioned that the highway has directions to the casino and the zoo, which is not a bad thing, but I was kind of hoping an economic development center like this school would still be worthy of a sign. So we're trying hard to get that restored. So we'll continue to pursue that.
Thank you very much, Doc. Student recognition.
Yes. Brandon, slide over to the head table here. We have certain, we have no shortages of recognitions for achievement and excellence. And among those that we value very much is one recently earned by Brandon. And so we make you aware that the Rensselaer medalist is certainly on the top of the rung relative to recognitions and success. And it's an indication of a combination of both academic and vocational skill sets. Anthony, wish to make any further comments?
Well, certainly among our best and brightest, very proud of you. And we certainly look forward to hearing what your plans are for next year. I think you got a lot of options in front of you for sure. Good to see you smiling. And we got a little bit of time left to do some pretty incredible things. So no doubt you're going to have a great year here, and look forward to hearing where you're headed and what you're going to do. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anthony and I had a conversation earlier this week talking about when we have some of our students make presentations. We do host a lot of events. That it's not uncommon for them to be asked, what are you going to do when you graduate? We both agree that we need to ask a different question. What are you going to do after you graduate from college? Because they have so many options, and college is not a career, but continuation of Prudential Building, and we're fortunate to have financial support because of the awards that are oftentimes won. That is always appreciated by family members, but we would like people to become more aware of the continuation of career opportunities after you graduate from the further education. So, congratulations. Thank you. Really well done.
Criteria for this award?
Zach, what's the criteria for this award?
Brandon, tell us more about
Tell us some of the things you did to earn this.
So it was based off of like reading. So it was based off of science and math achievement. And so I think the reason why I got it might be just because I'm in engineering, and also that I'm really passionate about it. So I actually participate in Skills USA. I do a lot of engineering competitions in that. I'm also on the robotics team and the math team.
Yeah. He's like somebody who earns 30 merit badges, so it goes right beyond the Eagle. Well done. Congratulations, everyone.
All right. All right. Next item on the agenda, student representatives, Logan and Isabella.
Hello. Hi, I'm Isabella.
I'm Logan.
And this month on September 14th, our school participated in the Out of the Darkness Suicide Prevention Walk. We had 26 walkers and we raised $225. We have a homecoming update. We put out a school-wide Spirit Day poll in which 230 students participated in. And results will be announced depending on administrative approval. And for our homecoming activities, we will be doing our bonfire, pep rally, dance, our Saturday activities, and a cornhole tournament. And we will be doing a potential photo scavenger hunt around our school. And we will be watching the Triple E situation for our Thursday night activities. And tickets will go on sale to seniors next week and to the rest of the school the week of September 30th.
We've also had our first 2 meetings for the year. Our first meeting was focused on underclassmen and introducing them to what student council really is. We did some icebreakers and just fun bonding activities since it's the beginning of the year and we don't have much work to do, so it's just getting everyone comfortable with one another. Our second meeting was then focused more on committees, which is a new thing that we're doing this year. We had 4 committees: the Sporties Closet to help organize. We had our homecoming committee to figure out the Spirit Days, potentially. We put out a survey for that as well. We also have our fall conference committee, which is helping us figure out the theme and as well as our community service, figuring out what community service our general council wants to do for the year. Speaking of fall conference, we also had a meeting today after school. We decided on our theme was based around our t-shirts that we designed, which is the game of BVT Stuco, like the game of life. It's all board game themed. We want to put a focus a little bit on Candyland because the bright colors for decorations. So in November, we'll be welcoming students from all around Central Mass to the conference. And then lastly, on October 3rd, we will be having our freshman elections, and student council will be a part of that, helping tally up all the votes. You guys have any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Scott.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we take items 8 and 9 before we do the tour. Curtis, I know, is working on a time-sensitive grant, and I would imagine Anthony would like to interact with some of the parents at the assembly for curriculum.
Without objection, I would support that modification. That
Oh my gosh,
adjustment
that's
to
the
the schedule.
kindest thing. I'll allow it.
Wait. Curtis seemed a little too happy about that. I don't know.
I think, boy, I'll tell you, you got my vote all the way. In your package, you've got a current grant listing of where we stand for FY20. And so if you'll just have a quick look at that. We do have several of the grants that are in the process of being submitted, or they've been submitted. And we are waiting for feedback in terms of responding back to some questions that they have. Okay, you got it. But that'll just tell you the status. And one of the things that I wanted to draw your attention to on this is the Mass Skills Capital Grant, because that's really going to be the the purpose of us having a further discussion with the motion that I just handed out. But you can see right now we've got in the hopper either in the process of being submitted and approved or approved for just over $1 million. And then if you draw your attention down to the Mass Skills Capital Grant, that is one that is, we've got two different options that we're going to be looking at. A 1-year option or a 2-year option. Year 1 is anywhere from $50,000 to $500,000, and it is to be used for equipment and any associated construction costs that might be required to put that equipment into service. And then the second is a 2-year option, and there's a minimum of $750,000 on that. It goes up to $1.5 million, and there are match requirements on both. We are familiar with the traditionals, which are a mix of cash and in kind, and we use a lot of our student labor, connections with business and industry, and in-house labor costs as part of those match. For the 1.5 or the 750 to 1.5, that is cash only. So for every $3 we request, we have to put up $1 in terms of the match. So let's just kind of stop there, have you look at the grants and see if you have any questions. Again, this is just a preliminary year-to-date listing. We've got a lot more that's really ready to go into this listing, but we haven't even made it to the point where we put forth an application. Given the nature of the vote, I wanted to add that one down at the bottom for the Mass Skills. So does anybody? Yep.
For the notes, you have pending or application due. If there's nothing in the box, what does that mean? It means we already have it? Or?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. And then maybe just a quick note, the Title I, and that's up in the federal grants in the blue section, the Title I, 2A, and Title IV. If you recall, we got cut $30,000 out of our Title I last year, and it was because of our poverty factors for our town, went below the 5% threshold. This year, we did get some additional funds in Title IV to the tune of about $5,000, and a small reduction in Title IIA, and a small increase in Title I. But those Titles 2A and Title IV are being flexed into Title I because we have 2 teachers' assistants that we traditionally fund out of that, and there was not enough money in the grant to cover that in the year that just passed. So we flexed those funds in last year, and we had a small amount that went to the general fund. With the retirement of one of our TAs in the prior year, we were able to pick up a positive increase, if you will, on the salary variance. So we were able to put all salaries into Title I, plus we're able to pick up a new version of the Wilson Reading Program, and then the professional development around that in terms of training, and then a couple of seminars for, I think, the summer book reading that they do. And that's for the instructional staff to attend. So we actually did better this year, but we had to do that using Title IIA funds, which is for teacher quality, and the Title IV. So just to let you know, that kind of gets grouped up into one big grant for us right now.
Any
Yes.
questions?
The Mass Skills Capital Grant for engineering,
Yes.
which is in the green line, and then you get the Mass Skills Capital Grant for biotech manufacturing. Is that going to affect that bottom number, or is them numbers still going to be available to us?
Well, we'll talk about that. It's not going to impact this grant as it stands right now, but I'll explain what that means when we get over to this vote. So, I mean,
Okay.
we'll be taking that up right now.
Jumping in.
I can tell you when we attended the webinar, because this grant is so big, and the turnaround time is so tight. The grant was released last Thursday, and it is due next Thursday. And I have got enough experience, at least writing this particular style grant. It takes a lot of time. So it has become a Valley Tech team effort on this one, just because we've got people, you know, Anthony's making contacts, Michelle's making contacts, Tom, we're trying to look at equipment listing, we're trying to make contacts with business and industry, get letters of reference. I've got to get back into the Workforce Investment Board, the Mass Hire. It is a huge, huge undertaking. And having said that, during that webinar, one thing that they focused our attention on is they are going to go back through the entire history of the program, and they are going to silo. I think they called it tranching, that we learned a new term. and they're going to determine how much total funds each entity has received. And they are going to focus efforts on people who have not been able to get that grant. Once they, and this is now where it comes into what we think is happening, they've got the total allocation. Once they fill that bucket with the people who have not gotten, then they're going to go to the silos and start plucking the applications out of there and filling the rest of the bucket. So, you know, we're just trying to still strategize about our best opportunity to get, because we have gotten every year, with the exception of one, and I believe that amount was around $273,000. And our word at that time was, our grant was great. It, by all rights, should have been funded, but it was to help distribute the wealth to other people who haven't been getting. So I think it's happening again. But now that it's later in the cycle, they're now adding up all funds that you've gotten and saying, okay, you know, well, we're going to focus our efforts on other people. We're still going for it, obviously. I think we certainly always turn out a good grant proposal. And in the end, it depends on who has actually applied for this grant and how that bucket is filled up in terms of requests. So with that, we're still uncertain until we get all of our final costs where we're going to file. We have to have at least $750,000 worth of equipment to even get, or related costs, to even get to a 2-year option. Assuming we can get there, we certainly need to have this vote. So this is designed strictly to secure the school committee's commitment that we are willing to reserve an amount necessary to fund up to $1.5 million, which for us would be $500,000. All right. So we pony up $1 for every 3 that we would apply for. If we did the 1.5, they would expect us to do $500,000. So with that, if you want to go ahead and read the motion, and then we can discuss it, because I've outlined how we get there, and then we can discuss any questions you have.
I'll entertain the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Ms. Mitchell.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lavin. To support item 8.1 as provided to us here tonight. Questions, comments, discussion? Doc.
As a follow-up to Joe's inquiry, as Curtis summarized, the preliminary grant applications have encouraged school systems to identify up to 4 different programs, so that to create maximum options at this point, that's why you see the biotech, manufacturing tech, you know, painting, decorating, assisting, to keep all of those doors open, right? As we continue to gather more information to see which ones, you know, if we continue to lobby for all 4 or any combination of the 4. Does that answer your question, Joe?
Well, you're saying you can have up to 4, but it looks to me like we've applied for 5. If you had,
Well, that's a whole
engineering
different
separate.
round.
it's a whole different
Yeah.
round.
Yeah.
Last year they had 2
My whole
rounds.
thing, I was just,
Yeah.
if they were gonna take that money, and like you said, they're gonna see how much money we've actually gotten, which they've
Yes.
already given us the
So,
375.
right. It doesn't impact our request, but it impacts the end result. Will we get the amount that we requested once they silo? If it was taken up fully by people who had not gotten, they wouldn't even look at the other people. But it has more to do with the total we've received to date than that particular grant. So
That's it.
Engineering was the previous cycle, not applicable to the maximum 4 for this cycle.
Any other questions?
Just wanted to get a sense of how many schools were on that webinar, maybe applying to this program, and consider within that 2-week window to get the grant proposals in.
I was not, Rosetta was controlling that. Did she get a count? I think we did mention a number. Was it 80?
I'd say at least 50, but
I thought it was something like, I thought
Would be
somebody
on
said
that
something like
without
80
even seeing it.
schools on it, but
I'm just curious.
As I said, but even with that, it's still an aggressive timeline
Yeah.
to meet the specs that they're going to require for their grant.
right. So just understand, this is asking for our commitment to go up to 500,000, but we kind of do the range. If we got 750, it'd be 250. So that would be the low end. And then we kind of lay out what our current resources are available. And as y'all know, we will be traditionally voting in accordance with our budget book up to that $500,000. I do expect that we will have the $500,000 to vote this year, and you will have to undertake that as a committee. So we'll add that to our current resource. And then because if we get to the 2-year option that requires the match, we will yet have another year. And they do honor multi-year commitments in advance. We wouldn't even have to do that, showing that we could make that commitment now.
Yeah.
And then we would wait and see what is our final application. I would then come in and reserve those funds to ensure that we got them.
Yeah, I mean, so this is just a cap, subject to reduction
Right.
based on the grant and the award process.
Right.
See,
Just that commitment.
Got it.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Any other questions for Curtis on the motion before?
One other comment to be made, because of your support and the manner in which we conduct our finances, the benefit of, like the Trask property, which was gifted and subsequently sold for $365,000, okay, and we ran it through the roof project with 53% coming back, it's still in the works. The fact that we have an excess and efficiency with all the cost-effective measures that are constantly part of the way we do business has enabled us to have an E&E account, which puts us in a real situation. Of the 80 school systems in Massachusetts, we are quite aware that many do not have, they spend their, no offense, but they said everything comes in, everything goes out, wipe it clean, and somebody else's problem after that. We don't do that. We have a long-term plan as well as a short-term plan, and the way, curriculum facilities and the business office work together make this possible for a rare opportunity. We do think the fact that you need a cash match, which is really stringent. I mean, usually they'll allow in kind, so if your custodial staff or somebody's performing services, you call that as in kind, but they require a cash match here that the competition, there won't be 80 competitors for that, I can guarantee you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, hearing none. All those in favor of supporting this motion to commit up to $500,000, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
And I don't have any contributions or donations to report. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll jump into Anthony Steele as part of this.
As Anthony makes his way, I noticed that I was given a summary of granted keys credentials. I share this. Sorry that I didn't do this when his father was also present. Okay, this young man is from Milford. Okay, he's #1 in the class of 305. Okay, he takes advancement placement courses, honor courses, serves as president of the Leo Club, treasurer of the Skills USA, member of the National Honor Society, member of the National Vocational Technical Honor Society. Some of his achievements include a national bronze medalist for Skills USA, Principles of Engineering, a state gold medalist, Skills Principal Engineering, a Lions Youth Ambassador, Eagle Scout from Troop 4 in Milford, junior varsity cross country, junior varsity track and field, president of the Leos Club, treasurer of the Skills USA chapter, robotics club, student council, math team, DECA, debate club, 3rd degree brown belt martial arts, a Eucharistic minister at the Trinity Episcopal Church, an avid clarinet player. Sounds like a lot of you, right? A regular volunteer at the Daily Bread Food Pantry in Milford, student ambassador, a peer mentor and tutor at Blackstone Valley Tech, college credits and introduction to engineering, principles of engineering, civil engineering, digital electronics, also earned from the Rochester Institute of Technology, an ambassador of Project 351, one of Governor Baker's initiatives. He led a local clothing drive to the Milford Public Schools, assembled care packages and made cards for veterans, communicated with others, and developed a variety of leadership skills. Those are some of the notes that I was given on this young man.
So you have time to eat.
Lucky.
I think I have time to come to the meeting. Yeah, he's got plenty of time. We can find something else for him to do.
That's what I take it.
Anthony.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. 9.1, we have completed just this past June our FY18 student activity audit. Dozier and myself just want to simply alert the committee that we did receive our draft report. At this time, we're in the period where we will be going through that draft, looking at any kind of recommendations or findings they have. We have an opportunity to respond to them, give extra information where needed. And of course, as always, with any of our audits and our site visits, I look forward to their feedback. I don't know if Barbara, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so just so the committee's aware, this is the first in-depth audit we've had of the student activity funds. In the past, student activity audits have always been a part of our ongoing annual audit. And so the testing this time was a little more in-depth and intense than it had been in the past. So we fully expected that we would receive some feedback as to areas in which we might make some improvements. And you know, what we're seeing are what we could consider to be minor corrections, and they have to do with things like training and written procedures and accountability of some of the individuals involved in the student activity procedures. So I think that, overall, these things are very easy to put into place. A lot of what we're seeing is a result of the well-publicized misuse of funds at other school districts in the past. And, that's why these in-depth student activity audits are happening now. But I'm pleased to say that we had no critical findings. They were all basically of the sort of findings that would just help us to strengthen the controls that we already have in place. So overall, I think, nothing unexpected has been reported, and I'll work with Anthony and Curtis, and we'll respond to what they're suggesting, and we'll strengthen some of our policies.
Any questions, comments on that?
Seeing none, we'll move to 9.2, Markham Award announcement. Pleased to say that this hit the papers. I don't have the award, bring it to a subsequent meeting, meaning a physical award, but we did win the Markham Award again, and that is for the winningest percentage in all sporting contests and events. This marks the 8th in 12 years that we've won this. Obviously, quite a credit to our coaches and our athletic department. Michelle Denise is our Director of Student Life. And some of the highlights for us that they did put in the paper in the Globe, obviously they highlighted us winning our 8th Division I vocational title in 12 years. We obviously went to the Division VII Super Bowl, won that. The girls soccer team played in the D3 state semis. The girls softball team was 20-2, and the boys lacrosse team went 17-2. So the Boston Globe did take their time to certainly give some of the details why we were a recipient of this. And obviously, out of the 3 top schools, we were the number 1, right in front of Vassabet and Greater Lowell, other schools like ours. So congratulations to you, to our student athletes, to all of the staff that helped make that happen. It's certainly quite an achievement, not just to earn it once, but 8 out of the last 12 years is quite remarkable. To celebrate that, I gave you your homecoming passes, and I expect to see you all there coming up. So you have your weekend family faculty pass, and certainly come on out. We just had our first football game this past weekend here against Northbridge. I'd say that the excitement and the crowd that gathered for that was on par with the Thanksgiving Day crowd. Very, very full house here. And for those of you who don't know, we're victorious in that by quite a margin. And so the Beavers, we try not to, jinx ourselves, but we look awfully good. I'll say it that way. For another great season in football. Certainly off to a great start on all fronts. Perhaps our 9th mark, who knows where we go. But look forward to seeing you guys there. It's a good time. Any questions?
Thank you.
Now we'll take a 5-minute recess to prepare for our tour.
Stretch.
Prepare to tour. Jim, do you have a preference, auto tech first or business tech?
Well, I'm going to do, again, I was going to comment on the kitchenette over here that we did, for the grant, for grant money, and that was done all in-house. And other than the grant kitchen cabinet, I was going to walk out back, and actually as you walk out back, you see sawdust pit.
Oh, okay.
And walk right into the overhead, walk right into the overhead door.
Sure. This area has been enlarged. It was the auto tech to accommodate diesel vehicles and add that to our curriculum. And the money to create this renovation was made possible through the state funding of a grant.
Welcome to the new and improved auto technology vocational department. Thanks to a lot of effort, a lot of great individuals, we really enhanced this shop this past summer. Starting at this overhead door, this was a smaller overhead door, so we worked very hard to and had this all engineered to make this door a larger door so we could bring larger equipment in to maintain it. From there, you see, of course, the floor, where this floor was a challenge. This is a over 50-year floor that was in here. The concrete specifications in this floor was quite interesting, where they actually used a metal product in the concrete, in the surface, which made it very hard for the grinding and for us to get down to more of a pure, slate, where we can put this chip seal epoxy finish on over here, as well as this accent runway color down below. The lights, of course, we did a while ago. We did all the painting on the walls, as well as washed and did a lot of the cleaning in the ceiling. And we did a lot of the enhancements within the tool crib. With that, I'll turn it over to Anthony to elaborate a little bit further on exhaust systems.
Yeah, a few of the other things we upgraded. One of the major safety concerns here was we had the exhaust system in the floor, so there was a hole, rather large gopher hole at each of the bays, which obviously represented a trip hazard, and the hoses were on the floor. So we went to what is much more commonly seen today is the overhead exhaust system. Those hoses obviously come out and go on the mufflers of cars and so forth, so that they can run them in the shop without asphyxiating themselves. A few of the other things, some safety features were added. That half wall there in front of all the tire machines was put into place, as well as up top, we, in the locker area up there, upgraded and repaired some of the things like the bird baths and the lockers and so forth. The floor you're standing on is actually one very similar to the Mazda dealership, not far from here. So like we did in auto collision, we tried to give the shop a modern dealership appearance, professional appearance and feel. And also at the same time, we brought in a lot of new equipment. Well, much of the grant was centered around adding diesel coursework to our existing auto technology program. Hence, part of the reason why we enlarged the door. It's interesting, we had a 14-foot door on that end. After the expansion, we wound up with a loading dock and a carpentry where we were able to get large trucks in here, but as long as they were very short. And so we mirrored that door on this end, so we have a full pass-through now. That's actually 14 feet. Standard height for a truck is 13.6 is the federal height. So we can virtually bring in any large truck or a piece of equipment at this time. We also did a lot of modifications to the ceiling. We removed a lot of the ventilation system that was blocking the way. We have about a 15.5-foot ceiling in here, but it was limited because of the height that we were hanging the lights and things like that. So the curriculum we added was derived from our partnership and consultation with several of the area diesel shops, CAT Equipment, S&D Diesel, and several had input on the curriculum and what we would teach our students for entry-level skills in pursuing diesel maintenance. And accordingly, we also picked up a lot of the tools and equipment we didn't have that would allow us to access that curriculum. Things like heavy jack stands, electronic analysis equipment that would read Caterpillar, Cummins, Detroit, and the larger, more common engines in the diesel field, and obviously some curriculum work as well. And so we're well outfitted at this point to address those commonly required or desired diesel trades, or should I say skills. Outside, I know we walked by, you saw a truck out there. That's the Osterman donation that we received. Since we received that, we have repowered it. It has a motor that our students put in it and a transmission. The students in welding partnered with them. They actually created that rack body bed that's on the back. The truck is stripped down like it is. The collision students and the auto tech students just took the cab off. It's going for a complete sandblast and paint. And when we put all the rigging back on the truck, we're actually doing, for example, the airlines and red and blue lines. We're setting it up as a trainer, so students will see the difference between service lines, brake lines, things like that. And that will be their truck, one of their trucks, heavy trucks. It does have air brakes on it, so it serves a lot of needs and purposes. They'll be bringing that truck in and out just like they have their other cars in here, and learning how to service and PM, preventative maintenance, on a medium heavy truck. So that's actually their project, our project, and our truck, and look forward to completing it. Pretty exciting stuff. It's a whole new chapter for us in a very desirable trade. And we're just looking at the top 10 of needs in this region, and diesel is on that list. So it certainly enhanced our capability in here. Of course, we wouldn't and couldn't have done this without the state support, with the grant support. They certainly paid for the bulk of it. So we're happy to put it to good use and hopefully start turning out more capable students in that area.
The interruption.
Good stuff.
To elaborate more on the floor, we dealt, this floor was fully spec'd out and put on the street. We had about 6 or 8 contractors, vendors come in to bid out this job. The award went to somebody locally, somebody within district in Douglas that we've dealt with before. We were pleased to work with him on this floor, and I would dare to say he earned every penny working on this floor. This was a challenge for him, but the end result really showed true. And to quote him, this is one of the toughest surface floors we have here in the school.
The toughest in the building. It's hard. This is a very hard floor.
This is very tough. So again, it's wonderful to see first day of school, first week of school, the excitement of these kids. And I actually had a couple of kids from the auto tech department see me during the summer and say, Mr. Brochu, am I hearing that we're doing a lot of enhancements in auto tech? And they couldn't wait to come back to school. I mean, such a difference. In the 70s when I went here, I couldn't wait to leave school.
Mr. Brochu, part of the reason they couldn't wait was because they actually worked on it since
wait to
last October. The students started working on this shop.
They could not wait to come in school to see.
Was the older floor.
So just to see the excitement and see the look on their faces when they come in, and just the new thrill of it. Like I said, truly a new chapter within the auto technology program as far as appearance and as far as attitude. It's really, really refreshing and really, really great to be a part of.
Thank you all for the support.
Thank you very much.
There we go.
I would hope that people take special pride in the improvements that you saw on any of these tours, more often than not, are done with money secured from the state in a competitive fashion, oftentimes very tight timelines, where we call together various resource people inside and then pursue the money, secure it. I have to, in fairness, I could say the auto tech people badgered me and others ever since they saw how nice the work that was done in manufacturing. So you get a jealousy kind of factor, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's pride in the trade. But my point to you is that the communities you represent, that we didn't ask them for the money, we found the money elsewhere to complement the investment that we asked them to make. So a pretty cost-effective way to strengthen their investment that they made here in a 55-year-old building. So thank you again. Item 10.1, Mr. Chairman. The committee has traditionally functioned with a variety of subcommittees, and we have the usual delineation, if you will, of those subcommittees. Budget subcommittee will be looking, they're already looking at a calendar of suggested meetings, so it would be particularly helpful, whatever the preference of the chair is, to know, or if people would speak to the chair of interest in serving.
Yeah, please, let me know if you want to serve, even if it appears full. There, we can always find a way to make something work as best we can without obviously, worrying about quorum issues. Because some of the committees are a little larger. Please let me know if you're interested in serving.
And the opposite would be true if you're not able to serve in a committee that previously you have served. Just to let us know. So you can see these, negotiation subcommittee. We have a negotiation year, but no immediate sessions established. We have planned, I believe, that we posted it in that fashion.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, the executive.
We have an executive session that has been posted following the regular meeting tonight. We have just a very brief conversation with those who would serve on the negotiation subcommittee. Any questions on that? Hearing none. Policy subcommittee, Chet has chaired that for many years, been very helpful. It keeps us in compliance with the Mass School Committee organization, MASC, and other factors. And when the state comes out, even whether it's audits or everything else, you can see how they're looking at the policies and whether or not we have them, are they up to date, are they, appropriate in the wording. Insurance Advisory Committee, I don't believe has had any issues. With some confidentiality, we've had one or two situations where the staff member was involved in a more complicated medical concern or disability, things like that. We're pleased to mention to you that working with the disability insurance that was negotiated by the school committee and the Teachers Association, we have had people who have drawn against from that and benefited from that coverage. Okay, and so we haven't run into any difficulty with that. And the other, each of the other positions are and functions are listed. So it would be particularly helpful if you would let the chair know, and we'll activate those. Any questions on that, Chairman? Yes, Paul.
Interested in joining the facilities subcommittee, so I don't know.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Item 10.2. If you look at that document, you'll see a proposed list of school committee meetings through this year. No, actually, no, I'm sorry. Right, well, this school year, but starting from the January cycle, just for your planning purposes. It'd be good if you'd pencil those in. And I guess our past practice has been if there's no school for snow closing, then there's no school committee meeting. You've been willing to meet on rare occasions, I think 2 over the years, where we had emergency meetings that we needed to comply with tight timelines of Mass School Building Authority reimbursement, something of that nature. And we would also have to include public hearings of the budget, things of that nature.
which will more than likely be March 5th.
Yes, that's correct. Any questions of the proposed? No. Right. Seeing none, I don't think we have to vote that. That's what we will post and share with our communities. We thought it best and informative that you might be interested in the team leaders, otherwise known as a department head, in the respective areas. These are stipend-driven positions for the collective bargaining agreement, and these are the individuals who serve in that capacity. They have a key role in helping us with the budgetary design and then the monitoring of the budget for cost effectiveness. Any questions on that? We have another special award. Keeler Langemal is a young man from Oxford, a senior in the multimedia communications. He's ranked in the top 45 of his class. He was recently honored at the State House for his collaborative efforts to combat racism, sexism, and other forms of discrimination through a coordinated partnership with the Boston Celtics Shamrock Foundation and Project 251. He takes several advanced placement classes, and while at BVT he has previously been a junior peer mentor, student safety team member, and alumni leadership council. He was recognized in the New Uxbridge Times and several other places. So we have extended congratulations to Keeler and to his family. Item 10.6. We are asked by the MIAA, the Mass Athletic Association, to have evidence of a school committee vote when we wish to enter into a cooperative arrangement with another school system or multiple school systems. We have two such overtures, and we have students that are interested in both. Listed in this particular sequence, we would ask the school committee's support of our actually exploration, and to enter into a wrestling cooperative program with our sister school of Bellingham, and to file that request with the MIAA.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Levin, second by Ms. Mitchell. Questions, comments, discussion?
This creates another opportunity for students which otherwise would not be available.
Is wrestling, is that male, is that co-ed?
Whatever the MIA rules are. Okay. In the past, it's been open.
Okay, so it's
It hasn't been-
like the next one says girls ice hockey, but the wrestling is open.
From my observation of the MIA rules, the girls, it's open.
Yeah,
It's
I don't.
non-gender defined.
Right, they don't separate them for wrestling. All right, any other questions, comments? Seeing none? All those in favor of approving the wrestling co-op with Bellingham, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries, that co-op and our support is approved.
Item 10.6B, we have three students, three girls, who have voiced interest who are in our system to participate in a girls hockey program. At least one of the girls, I believe, previously was on the boys team. Then she was able to join the Auburn girls team and found that more competitive, and saw more ice time and things like that. And we have to reappeal to Auburn to do this. So I reached out to the superintendent, Mary Ellen Brunel in Auburn. She in turn spoke to her athletic director, and that person has been working with our folks. So I asked for your vote to create a girls ice hockey co-op program with Auburn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Mitchell, second by Mr. Koopman. Is it it's one girl?
Three.
Three?
Three have interest, have voiced interest. It started with one, now there are three.
Where's practice?
The Auburn rink.
It's Auburn rink, yes.
Okay, no, it was just,
That's where they practice.
okay,
That's where they play the games.
just a
actually.
curiosity, because it was just outside
So
of
we
it.
provide a bus to go there? How does that work?
I don't think so. I think it's been, they've got there on their own in the past. So, well, we'll do whatever we need to do. I understand from our athletic director, there is no major financial impact to do this. Okay? So, either one of them. I said, well, okay.
And what year would this start? Is it this coming season or?
But yes, yeah, we previously had this. So, you know, the mother of the one girl who played before contacted me in the summer and was somewhat disappointed that Auburn hadn't, addressed the matter, and so asked us to pursue it. And so we have, but just recently, well, when it didn't move at the speed which either the mother or we wanted, that's when I reached out to the superintendent.
And Auburn has a need to add more players to their team, so
I would not be
it's like with
surprised.
Grafton, right, with the boys, it's kind of a mutual thing because both schools need players. Is it the same with Auburn here, that they actually are looking to have our students join their team?
I can't speak to that knowing exactly what the roster is, but I
The
think I wouldn't
MIA
be.
won't approve it unless there's a need for both communities.
I mean-
I went through this when we had Millreach Sutton.
Next year, we may have 8 girls that are interested instead of 1 or 3,
Yeah.
and so I'm just, all that's been worked out?
Well,
Or we're in the
well,
process of doing
I
it?
would not be surprised if the hedging by Auburn was because they wanted to see how many girls had interest from Auburn. Okay, to see whether or not they wanted to fill out the roster. But with the superintendent's assistance, I'm sure now we can, you know,
Okay.
advance this.
It'd be good maybe to have a follow-up and a meeting or 2 down the road to see how the collaboration is being set up.
100% right. Yeah, and MIA will watch that too. But it's an opportunity that doesn't exist. We don't have a girls hockey.
No, this is a great opportunity. I just want to make sure
Agreed.
we're all, our players are, fairly considered.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Any other questions, comments, discussion on the girls' hockey team?
It is fairly well known that we do have a boys hockey co-op team in Grafton.
Yep.
And that's been quite successful. Okay, so we do have a boys program that's worked well.
They're also in our district.
Yeah,
Whereas
all
Auburn
true.
isn't.
No, all true, but I'm saying that the combination of players from 2 schools, Grafton and Valley Tech, has worked smoothly, and we have had key players who have contributed to the success of the
Yeah,
hockey team.
and we've had the skiing club with Nipmuc.
Yes.
Skiing, right?
Skiing is another example, yes.
Yeah, no, we've had a number of
Co-op.
successful co-ops. I just wanted, just follow up on that one. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the co-op with Auburn, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you
very much.
We will advance those. Item 10.7, Mr. Chairman. Finishing up my retreats for the season, I guess. I attended the Mass Association of School Superintendents. Actually, this doesn't finish it. It's just the last one I did. It was held in Salem, Massachusetts, over the dates indicated. So it was an excellent opportunity to connect with colleagues from across the state and continue to be active in these organizations. Earlier today, it was announced that the legislature passed the new ed reform. No, I shouldn't say that. The legislature was viewing the merits of a new ed reform formula. Okay, so we'll see what comes out of that. And MASS has contributed to those conversations. So, Richard, any questions? Recently, we had the new CEO of Unibank, newly named, come over and take a tour. So we spent a couple hours here, had lunch, and got a chance to see the school which they had never seen. It was very complimentary and something nice to let you note, and I believe it's included in things for the good of the committee. We continue to do that. If in fact you are aware of somebody within your respective communities that would benefit from a tour, okay, anyone that you feel find it worthwhile, we'd be glad to consider doing that around whatever we do for schedule. So you're not too important, and no one's too insignificant to give that tour. Okay? Student tours and parent tours are regularly scheduled, and we think you know that. Any questions on that? Hearing none, moving on. I think I skipped over 10.4.
I think you did.
Okay, 10.4, one of the commitments I've had with the negotiation subcommittee with our school committee has been to take the initial theme list, which was shared previously, convert it into goals, at least starting points, cross-reference with the state's standards and rubric for evaluating superintendents, and share those with you. So the next list, based on the input that I received from several, is shared. Any questions on that? Sorry, just skipping over that. Okay. We'll continue to give you periodic progress reports on that. Now 10.9. You have the newest alumni newsletter. The story about Harry Cooper of Millville, obviously a BVT graduate from 1972, is captured very effectively here, and you will also see in the annual report, which is currently under production. It's a very interesting story. Like all our grads, we're proud of them. That concludes my report.
Any questions for Dr. Fitzpatrick? Seeing none, hearing none. Next item on the agenda, new business. Does any member of the school committee have any new business to bring forward tonight? Dr. Fitzpatrick, do you have any new business to bring forward tonight?
I do not.
Oh, yeah, just have one. Just like to thank everybody as being chairman of the facilities subcommittee. Things that they did this summer, you know, Jim and the crew and, you know, all the volunteers that come in. I mean, the whole building looks great. They did a great job.
Thank you.
And, you know, in a short period of time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda, items for the good of the committee, available per your request. Looks like we're coming out of these things.
Beginning of the school year.
Yeah.
I would like to again encourage people, if their schedule permits, to consider the American Revolution schedule that's also listed. We'll have additional flyers and things like that. If you get a chance to stop by. The kids are all excited about this. We're really planning some interesting aspects of this in every vocational program and a number of the academic programs.
Wonderful. Hey. Next regularly scheduled school committee meeting is October 17th. I will entertain if we do have an executive session meeting, an executive session scheduled on the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Hanratty?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Mitchell. Motion made and second to go into executive session because discussion of this subject is an open session would be detrimental to the school district. I do want to say that we would be returning back to the open meeting, regular scheduled meeting, for the sole purpose of closing the meeting and adjourning it, so we would not be conducting any additional business beyond that in open session for the purpose, for the benefit of our viewing audience. Dr. Fitzpatrick?
Mr. Chairman, I would add, in the spirit of what you just shared, the fact that the sole topic of this brief executive session is preparation of collective bargaining.
All right, as we have a motion made and second for executive session, it is a roll call. Mr. Braun?
Yes.
Ebling?
Yes.
Chat?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right. We are going to take a few moments from here to allow our videographer to break down and be on his way, and then we will begin.